I smooth the lace of my gown, watching my reflection in the floor-length mirror. Today is supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Outside, the garden is a sea of white peonies and soft amber lights. My fiancé, Elias, is waiting at the altar. Everything looks perfect. It looks like the dream I've spent 2 years meticulously planning. But as I press my palm against the cool glass, my hand is shaking. Not because of nerves, but because of a feeling I can't quite shake. A shadow that has followed me since childhood. My brother, Julian, walks into the dressing room. He looks sharp in his charcoal suit, the image of the supportive older sibling. He smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. It never does. Julian has always been the golden child, the one who commanded the room while I stood in the corner, invisible. Our parents worshipped him. Even when he was cruel, they called his manipulation leadership and my quietness weakness. He leans against the doorframe, crossing his arms. "You look expensive, Clara," he says. "Not beautiful, not happy, expensive." He says it like I'm a line item on a budget he's trying to cut. I try to ignore the bite in his tone. I've spent 24 years learning how to swallow his insults and call them jokes. I tell myself today is different. Today, I am the lead character. Today, I am starting a new life with a man who actually sees me. "Thank you, Julian," I reply, my voice steady. "I'm glad you're here. I want to believe that. I want to believe that for one day, he can put aside his need to be the center of the universe. I want to believe he's proud of me." He walks over and places a hand on my shoulder, squeezing just a little too hard. "I just hope you're ready for the reality of this," he whispers. "Elias is a high flyer. You've always been a bit of a homebody. Don't be surprised if the spotlight gets too bright for you." He pats my cheek and walks out before I can respond. My heart sinks. Even now, minutes before I walk down the aisle, he is planting seeds of doubt. He wants me to feel small. He wants me to remember my place. I look back at the mirror. The illusion of perfection is flickering. I can hear the string quartet starting the processional music. The guests are taking their seats. My mother bursts in, flustered and weeping about the floral arrangements, barely looking at me. She straightens my veil without making eye contact. To them, this wedding isn't about my love for Elias. It's a performance, and Julian is the director. I take a deep breath and step toward the door. I tell myself I'm being paranoid. I tell myself Julian is just being Julian. But as I catch a glimpse of him whispering to our cousin in the hallway, a smirk playing on his lips, a chill runs down my spine. That was the moment everything changed. I didn't know it yet, but the trap was already set. The perfect day I had built was standing on a foundation of lies he had been weaving for months. The ceremony is a blur of vows and soft music. When Elias takes my hand, the world feels solid again. His grip is firm, his eyes full of a warmth that Julian could never understand. For a moment, I let myself forget the tension. We dance our first dance under the stars, the scent of jasmine heavy in the air. I feel safe. I feel loved. I feel like I've finally escaped the suffocating grip of my family's expectations. But as the reception moves into full swing, the atmosphere shifts. I notice Julian moving through the crowd like a politician. He's leaning in close to Elias's business partners, his expression grave. Every time I catch his eye, he quickly looks away, his face twisting into a mask of feigned concern. I see my mother dabbing her eyes, not with joy, but with what looks like shame. I find Elias by the bar. He looks pale. "Is everything okay?" I ask, reaching for his hand. He pulls back slightly, his eyes searching mine. "Clara, your brother, he just told me something. He said he felt it was his duty to be honest before we went on the honeymoon." My heart drops. I can feel the bile rising in my throat. I trusted them. I trusted my family to let me have this one night. What did he say, Elias? My voice is a whisper. Elias looks around, making sure no one is listening. He said you've been struggling. He said the reason you left your last job wasn't because of the merger. He said you took money, that you have a problem. He said he's been covering your debts for years. I gasp, the air leaving my lungs. It's a lie, a complete, calculated lie. I left that job because Julian pressured me to work for his firm, and then he sidelined me until I quit. Elias, you know that's not true, I say, my voice trembling. I've never taken a dime. I've been supporting myself since I was 18. But I can see the seed of doubt Julian planted is already growing. Elias knows my brother is manipulative, but he also knows Julian is the successful one. Julian has the reputation. Julian is the one everyone trusts. Before I can explain further, Julian approaches us, draped in a cloak of false empathy. I'm so sorry, Elias, he says, placing a hand on Elias's arm. I shouldn't have said anything tonight. I just couldn't live with myself if I let you walk into this blind. Clara has a golden heart, but she's unwell. We've been trying to get her help for a long time. He looks at me with such pity that I almost believe him myself. I stand there, frozen, as my brother systematically dismantles my character in front of my new husband. I look at my mother, who is standing nearby, nodding solemnly. She's in on it. They've decided that if I'm going to be happy, if I'm going to have a life outside of their control, they'll make sure that life is built on a foundation of suspicion. I felt invisible. I felt like a ghost at my own celebration. Julian sighs, a heavy, performative sound. Maybe we should take a break. Maybe the speeches aren't a good idea right now. He's not trying to protect me. He's trying to cancel the speeches because he knows Elias's father was planning to announce a partnership with us. Julian wants that partnership for himself. He's sabotaging my marriage to steal my future. I watched them walk away, my brother and my husband, leaving me standing alone in the middle of the dance floor. The music is still playing, upbeat and joyful, mocking the wreckage of my heart. I realized then that this wasn't an impulse. This was a siege. Julian didn't just want to ruin my wedding. He wanted to own me again. He wanted to make sure I knew that no matter where I went, I would always belong to the narrative he created. The rest of the night is a slow-motion car crash. I try to talk to Elias, but he's distant. He's processing. Every time I try to defend myself, it sounds like the denial Julian warned him about. I see guests whispering. The air feels thick with judgment. My own bridesmaids are giving me sidelong glances. The story Julian spun, the story of the unstable, thieving sister, is spreading through the room like a virus. I retreat to the bridal suite, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I sink to the floor, my expensive dress bunching around me like a shroud. I thought I had won. I thought I had escaped, but Julian is a master at this. He doesn't use fists, he uses whispers. He doesn't steal things, he steals identities. He has stolen mine and replaced it with a version of me that is broken and untrustworthy. I hear a knock on the door. It's my mother. She enters and closes the door softly. Clara, darling, don't be upset with Julian. He's only looking out for the family reputation. If Elias found out later, it would be a scandal. This way, it stays between us. She speaks as if she's comforting a child, but her eyes are cold. It's a lie, Mom, I say, my voice cracking. I never stole anything. I don't have debts. Why are you doing this? She sighs, smoothing her skirt. We all have our roles, Clara. Julian is the one who carries this family. You are the one who needs support. It's better this way. Elias will provide for you, and Julian will handle the business side of things. It's the natural order. The natural order. To them, I am nothing more than a pawn to be moved around a board. They don't care about my happiness. They care about the business side of things. They care about the inheritance our grandfather left me, the inheritance Julian has been trying to get his hands on for 3 years. If I am deemed unstable, Julian becomes the executor. That's what this is. A coup. I feel a wave of nausea. I trusted them. I actually believed they loved me in their own warped way. But they don't love me. They love the control they have over me. They love the way I make Julian look better by comparison. I am the shadow that makes his light look brighter. And tonight, they decided to extinguish that shadow entirely. I look at my phone on the vanity. It's buzzing with notifications. Congratulations from people who don't know my world is ending. And then a text from Julian. Don't make a scene, Clara. Just accept it. You were never meant for this life anyway. Let's talk about the trust fund tomorrow. He didn't even wait for the cake to be cut to move in for the kill. I stand up, my legs feeling like lead. I walk to the window and look out at the reception. Julian is at the center of a circle of people, laughing, holding a glass of champagne. He looks like a king. He thinks he's won. He thinks I'm going to curl up in this room and cry until I'm small enough to fit back into the box he made for me. The emotional collapse is total. I feel a hole opening up in my chest, swallowing everything I thought I knew about my family. I am alone. Truly, utterly alone. My husband doubts me. My parents have betrayed me. And my brother is dancing on the ruins of my life. I fall back onto the bed, the silence of the suite deafening. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They thought I was the same girl who used to hide in the closet when they argued. I stay in that room for an hour, the darkness closing in. But then my eyes land on my bridal clutch. Inside is my secondary phone, the one I used for my freelance work, the work Julian told everyone I wasn't capable of doing. My finger hovers over the screen. I remember something. 2 months ago, Julian had asked me to fix his laptop after he spilled wine on it. He thought I was just a homebody with no tech skills. He didn't realize I had backed up his entire drive while I was cleaning it, just in case he tried to delete my work files again. I open the cloud drive on my phone. My heart hammers against my ribs. I haven't looked at those files in weeks. I was trying to move on. I was trying to be good. But now, I navigate through folders of his business strategies. I find a folder labeled See, Trust. My breath hitches. Inside are emails. Emails to our family lawyer, drafting a plan to have me declared mentally unfit. Emails to a friend of his, bragging about how he was going to neutralize the marriage so Elias wouldn't interfere with the fund. And then I find the Holy Grail. A recording. Julian has a habit of recording his meetings to review his performance. It's a recording from 3 nights ago. I press play, my hand trembling. It's Julian and my mother. She's getting too confident, Mom. Julian's voice says sharp and clear, if she marries Elias, he'll look at the books. He's a shark. We need to poison the well. I'll tell him she's a klepto. I'll tell him she's unstable. He'll be so busy managing her episodes, he won't notice we've moved the assets. My mother's voice follows, chillingly calm. Just make sure it's believable, Julian. She's always been sensitive. It won't take much to push her over the edge. I drop the phone on the bed. The room feels like it's spinning. It wasn't just a rumor. It was a premeditated strike. They weren't just protecting the family. They were actively trying to destroy my sanity for money. The shock wears off, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. This is the betrayal that ends all betrayals. I look at the recording. I look at the emails. I look at the logs of how Julian diverted funds from our grandfather's estate into his own private accounts, the very funds he claimed I had stolen. He wasn't covering my debts. He was creating them on paper to hide his own theft. I stand up. The weak Clara is gone. The invisible girl is dead. They wanted a performance. I'll give them one. They think I'm sensitive. They're about to find out how sensitive I am to injustice. I spend the next 30 minutes downloading everything to a flash drive I keep in my travel kit. I sync the files to a public folder. I prepare the reception surprise. I check my makeup in the mirror. I look terrifyingly calm. My eyes are bright with a fire I've never felt before. I am no longer a victim. I am an empowered survivor, and I am about to take back my name. I walk to the door, the flash drive gripped in my hand like a weapon. That was the moment everything changed. I wasn't going back to the dance floor to beg for forgiveness. I was going back to reclaim my life. I walk back into the reception hall. The music has slowed down. People are starting to look toward the stage for the speeches. I see Julian already standing near the microphone, looking like the benevolent patriarch. He sees me and gives a small condescending nod as if to say, "Good girl, you've come to take your medicine." Elias is sitting at the head table, his head in his hands. I walk straight to him. I don't say a word. I just lean down and whisper in his ear, "I need you to trust me for 5 more minutes. Just 5 minutes. If I'm lying, you can leave. But if I'm not, you're going to want to be on the right side of this." He looks up at me, startled by the steel in my voice. He nods slowly. I walk toward the AV booth behind the stage. The young technician looks bored. I hand him the flash drive. There's a change in the program. I tell him, sliding a $100 bill across the table, "I need you to play the audio file, labeled The Truth, through the house speakers as soon as my brother finishes his intro, and put the document folder on the big screens. All of them." He looks at the money, then at me. He sees the look in my eyes and doesn't ask questions. "You got it, Mrs. Sterling." I smile. Mrs. Sterling. I like the sound of that. It's a name that doesn't belong to Julian. I walk to the side of the stage, hidden by the heavy velvet curtains. I watch Julian tap the microphone. The room goes silent. "Friends, family," Julian begins, his voice rich with feigned emotion. "Tonight is a celebration of love, but it's also a reminder of the bonds of family. We all know that life isn't always easy. My sister, Clara, has had a difficult journey. We've done our best to support her through her challenges. And while we hope this marriage brings her peace, we want Elias to know he's not alone in caring for her." There's a murmur of sympathy in the room. I see my mother in the front row, looking like a saint. Julian continues, "Because of Clara's recent struggles, I've decided to step in and manage the family interests more directly, to take the burden off her shoulders." He's doing it. He's announcing his takeover of my inheritance right here in front of everyone under the guise of charity. I signal the technician. Suddenly, Julian's voice is cut off. But another voice fills the room. Julian's voice, but different. It's the recording. She's getting too confident. "Mom, we need to poison the well." The volume is bone-rattling. Julian freezes, his face turning a sickly shade of gray. The entire room goes dead silent. The guests are frozen, forks halfway to their mouths. The recording continues to play. Every word, every cruel calculation, echoes off the walls of the ballroom. I'll tell him she's a klepto. We've moved the assets. On the giant screens behind Julian, the emails begin to scroll. Bank statements follow, showing the transfers from my trust to Julian's offshore accounts. The evidence is undeniable. It's a digital execution. I step out from behind the curtain. The spotlight hits me, but I don't blink. I walk to the center of the stage, right next to my brother. He looks like he's about to faint. He tries to reach for the microphone, but I grab it first. I look directly at him, then at my mother, then at the stunned crowd. "My brother wanted to tell you a story tonight," I say, my voice amplified and steady. "He wanted to tell you a story about a girl who was too weak to handle her own life. But the story he told was a lie. The real story is about a man so desperate for power and money that he tried to destroy his own sister on her wedding day. A man who stole from a dead man's trust and called it management. The guests are gasping. I see Elias's father stand up, his face thunderous. He's a man of integrity, and he just realized he was being played. Julian finds his voice, though it's high and cracking. This is a fabrication. She's hacking. She's having a breakdown. He turns to the crowd, pleading. You see how unstable she is. I don't even look at him. I point to the screen. Those are the bank logs. Julian, those are your private emails. Unless I've developed the ability to forge your digital signature and record conversations you had in private 3 days ago, I think the breakdown is yours. I turn to my mother. And you were willing to let your daughter be branded a thief and a mental patient just to keep Julian's ego fed. Are you proud of the natural order now? My mother hides her face in her hands. The room erupts. People are standing up, shouting. Elias is on his feet, walking toward the stage. He doesn't look at Julian. He looks at me. He reaches out a hand and helps me down from the platform. The power dynamic has shifted so violently the air feels charged with electricity. Julian is left standing alone on the stage, the screens behind him still flashing the proof of his crimes. He looks small. For the first time in my life, he looks like the coward he is. He tries to walk off the stage, but 2 of Elias's business associates block his path. They aren't looking at him with respect anymore. They're looking at him like a cockroach. I feel a strange sense of calm. The weight that has been on my chest for 20 years is gone. I have outsmarted him publicly in the most devastating way possible. I didn't just defend myself. I dismantled him. I took the spotlight he loved so much and turned it into a searchlight that revealed every dark corner of his soul. The wedding didn't end with a cake cutting. It ended with the arrival of the family lawyer and a very long, very quiet conversation in the back office. By the time the sun started to rise, Julian was facing a massive civil suit and a criminal investigation for embezzlement. My mother had fled the venue in a taxi, unable to face the people she had lied to. Elias and I sat on the edge of the fountain in the garden, the white peonies now shadowed by the dawn. He took my hand and held it tightly. I am so sorry, Clara, he whispered. I should have known. I should have stood up for you the second he opened his mouth. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I needed his validation to be whole. You were manipulated by a professional, I said, but now you know. And now they know. I felt a profound sense of release. The family I thought I had was a lie, but the woman I had become to survive them was very, very real. I had lost my brother and my mother in a single night, but I had gained my voice. Julian tried to call me a week later, crying about family loyalty and how I was ruining his life. I didn't even yell. I just listened to him sob for a moment and then quietly hung up. There is no loyalty for those who trade your soul for a bank balance. There is no room in my new life for people who only love the version of me they can control. My marriage with Elias isn't perfect. We're still healing from the cracks Julian tried to create, but it's honest. We don't have secrets. We don't have roles. We just have each other. And as I look back at that night, I don't feel regret for the bridge I burned. I feel grateful for the light it provided. Karma didn't come in a lightning bolt. It came in a flash drive. It came in the form of a quiet girl finally speaking up and refusing to be a background character in her own story. I lost the people who raised me, but I found the person I was meant to be all along. Sometimes losing your family is the price of finding yourself.